Welcome to In the Green Room. I'm Kinga.
And this is Owen.
I'm Richard.
And we have the famous Rob Trygg.
Thanks for having me out here. This is awesome. This is
You're a
great.
legend in the studio.
Yeah.
And we don't want to forget Dominic. Say hello, Dominic.
Dominic's here, engineering.
Hello, hello.
There we go.
All right. So, Rob Trygg, who are you?
Who am I?
Very big question.
I'm a nobody. One time we were at Disneyland. I was with a family friend of ours and his 3 kids. They're teenagers at the time, and one of the kids went to the bathroom, so we're all just kind of sitting out, hanging on a wall. So one of the boys comes up to me and goes, "Oh my God, you're Rob Trygg, aren't you? Oh, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture?" And he sat down and got a picture with me, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is going nowhere fast. And then the other kid comes over and goes, "Oh my God, let me get your autograph, And so I signed something for him, and I'm like, oh, this is good. So then my buddy Dave comes over and he goes, "My family loves Star Wars. Absolutely loves Star Wars. Thank you." And starts shaking my hand. Well, now a crowd of people are gathering around because they're at Disneyland. They're assuming that there's somebody famous there, right? This got so bad, so people would go up to them and go, "Who is that?" "Well, that's one of the writers of Star Wars." And so this little kid comes,
okay.
this is when Star Wars was first bought by Disney.
Yeah.
So this little kid comes up, he's carrying his little lightsaber, and he walks up to me, and the people go, "Who are you?" And I go, "I'm nobody." And they go, "No, really, what you do is," so now either I play along or it just really gets dumb. So I go, "Hey, you like Star Wars? That's really, let me see that." I had him play with his, and they go, "Can we get a picture?" So in somebody's picture book, somewhere in the United States or maybe across the world, there's a family with a little kid with a lightsaber. They're going, "We just sat with the writer of Star Wars." Now we got the whole people, there's just a crowd around us, and I started getting scary because, they don't play around with security at Disneyland. So now, I'm sure there was security watching, like, what's going on here? So I just started walking, and 30 people are following me, and the guys were behind me, like, "Take a right, take a left." I duck in this little store, and we cut across. We got a little scared because all of a sudden, I could get in trouble, So I caused a ruckus. So if you ask me who I am, that's the long way of saying I'm nobody. So
come on. So,
Wait a
Rob,
minute.
we love
You're an
that story.
imposter.
yes.
So you've been in the broadcasting business for how many years now?
1982.
Wow.
Wow.
1983. 83 is when I
83.
first. I think I worked for free in 82. And then in 1983, it was my first paycheck.
And this was for a radio show.
Yeah, I did radio here, and I've been in the Phoenix market my entire career.
cool.
So I started on a radio station called Copa. It's now KSLX.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it?
It was Copa back in the day. I was playing brand new Michael Jackson. This one's called Beat It. You're gonna like it.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and I was Robert Trygg. How dumb is that? Because saying Robert Trygg really quickly.
Robert
Trygg.
Trygg.
Robert Trygg.
Robert Trygg.
So then as I finally got
GTs.
smart many years later in my career and said, "This is Rob Trygg. I'm a nobody." So yeah, been in. I was a radio disc jockey for
So how old were you when you started?
17, 18.
So really, so
17,
very young.
yeah, just as a young kid.
Yeah.
And I worked for free. I did anything I could. I swept up. I put records away. I called people up as a research person. Anything I could do to get on the air. And
What was your reason for doing that? You just had this.
well, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot my whole life, and I moved down here. Well, we'll back it up a couple years. 1980, Mount St. Helens blows up.
Yeah.
We were living in Washington. My mom says, "We're out. We're going to Arizona, where my parents are." So and up there we had all the political connections that you need to get into the Air Force Academy.
Oh.
So I come down here and I thought, okay, I went to high school, my last 2 years of high school down here, and then I went to stand in line at ASU at 17 years old. Now I'll just go to ROTC and become an officer that way. Well, I get to ASU that particular day, and there is a line a mile long, and me being a 17-year-old long-haired freak said, "Nope, I'll come back another day. This is just too much." Came back home and started watching Wallace and Ladmo, the cartoon that was on in the afternoons here.
Yeah.
Wallace and Ladmo.
Yes. And
my God.
matter of fact, Pat McMahon, who is on the Walls and Land, is still a good friend of mine. But I'm watching this show, and a commercial came on. Would you like to be a radio DJ? And I'm like, that's it. And I changed my entire career, and I went to this broadcast school called the Ron Bailey School of Broadcast in 1982.
From Air Force to broadcast.
Yeah. I probably would have been a colonel, retired, just living the life by now. And now,
Were you already friends with Dave Pratt?
Dave Pratt and I worked at a roller skating rink together when I was 16.
Wow.
He was the DJ at 19 or 18, and I couldn't be a DJ yet because I was too young. So I handed out the skates. So if you rented skates, you come give me your stinky shoes and a little ticket, and I give you some skates. And that was my job. So we've been together 40.
So how did you guys start
3 years
your
now?
show? Because you had that, you were on the air together for how
Yeah.
many years?
Or did you guys
For most of it, yeah.
Yes.
So he was on KUPD, and after I got my feet wet and being a jock, I came over and I worked with him because we're just buddies, and
And wasn't everything on a handshake?
Oh, always. Everything's on a handshake with Dave. Even business today, he's quite the business mogul, and everything's on a handshake.
I love that.
And we've
All about
been
trust.
together. We're like an old married couple.
Yeah.
We've been together longer than we've been married. Well, he's been best man at all my weddings. Put it that way.
Okay.
How many times have you been married? What? Are you like Elizabeth Taylor? How many
No,
wives?
I've only been married twice. This is my second wife, and she's still with me for 20 years, coming up in December.
Congratulations.
20 years, yeah.
Congrats.
Congrats. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
So how do you make it work?
She's in that bedroom way down the hall. I'm in this bedroom way down the hall. You know how when you're first married, sex, you'd have sex in every room of the house when you're first married. Then you get used to each other a few years later, you're just having, sex in the bedroom. That's it. Well, now we have hallway sex. That's where we stand on either end of the hallway and yell, F you. So she has her space. I have my space. I always wanted to try this, not come home and see how many days it would take her to realize that I haven't been home. I don't. We're roommates now.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's the key to a good relationship right there.
No, that's
It's
absolutely the key.
It's having space.
Not
You
living
have
in-
space and
yeah.
be friends, and then and don't be all over in each other's business.
So you have your own privacy. You can do what you want.
I do what I want. I'm not exaggerating. I really don't know if she would notice if I didn't come home for a couple of days.
Because she's doing what she wants.
She's
right?
doing, she
Whatever.
is an amazing actress and dancer.
Oh, really?
And
Oh,
she
really?
teaches. Yeah, she
Oh.
teaches, and she's a choreographer and,
Oh,
and
really?
teaches theater dance. But she was the
Cool.
youngest on point ballerina in New York Ballet. Company,
Really?
13 years
New
old.
York.
Wait, is she
Oh.
friends with Cheryl Cooper? I was with her this
Yeah,
morning.
does she know? No, I don't know if she knows Cheryl. No.
Okay.
But she, she's a ballerina, so she has discipline, and I have none. You could bounce a quarter off her stomach, it would get lost for years in mine. She could eat one chip, I could maybe eat one bag of chips. So I don't. What she's, they say opposites attract. She's just complete opposite.
Where
of
does
me.
she teach?
That's a good question.
Private lessons. No,
Okay.
she only does private lessons. So these
I
families.
didn't know she was associated with Ballet Arizona and all.
Well, no, she actually was. She quit ballet at the age of, I think, 18 because the discipline involved in ballet is absolutely amazing. And she's a
Right.
tall girl, and they had.
Is she taller than you?
No, but she's pretty tall. She's like 5'8".
Oh, she's tall.
She's
Okay.
a tall girl, and they in the ballerina world they had to be at a certain weight.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that was started eating her muscle because she had no fat. So she's like, this is not what something that's healthy for me, or I'm going to do anymore.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do it as a professional career anymore. So she became Miss Dance Arizona, won that in the early
impressive.
80s,
Wow.
and then
Wow.
took like third in the nation for that other kind of dance and like hip hop and all the other kind of dance. I don't think it was hip hop back then, but
No.
like more free dance. And then she got into the theater, and musicals was her thing. So
Wonderful.
I don't know, how did we get on my wife? God, she's got more.
Wait.
This show's supposed to be about me.
Wait, when you hear the story about how you guys met, that's like that's the
Exactly.
most important part.
That is.
All right. God, God, I'm just
How did-
bearing my soul.
how did you-
And then I was 5. I was dead. So yeah, I worked in radio my entire adult life. I've been, and Dave Pratt, who if you're in the Phoenix area, he's the original Howard Stern of Phoenix. But we were all together, and one of his producers, I had just broken up with a girl, and I had done I was doing television commercials, and I was making a lot of money doing television commercials, and I was also doing dinner theater. And I liked it, and it was, dinner theater is like the bastard stepchild of real theater. It's just fun. And I was making like $50 a show or something.
Why don't we have that anymore? I love dinner theater.
Oh, do you? Well, they're still out there. I just haven't done it in a long time. But so I said I had broken up with a girl, and I said to my buddy, I said, you know what? Theater, the real theater, they do their shows every night for like 3 or 4 weeks. I'm thinking, if the dinner theater is paying me $50, that'll be a couple $300-400 a show. Well, that's not the case in theater. But I, at that point, said, I'm going to do theater. And he goes, my sister is in the theater. She's a choreographer. So I get on, I start flirting with this girl that I had met, through the email at that time. And we just were flirting back and forth. I said, hey, I'm really interested in doing some more theater. And she goes, hey, we got a show coming up. Why don't you come out here and audition for the show? So I'm not, like I said, I've always done on film acting, or commercials or dinner theater. So I've never had gone to a real theater. So we get there, and there's a big audition line, and they get me and they bring me in there, and they have me audition for the part. And it was the director, her as the choreographer, and the music director. And I auditioned. They go, hey, we love what you do. Unfortunately, the director has her friend already got the part, but we want you for the lead role.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm like, okay, I must have done well at this audition. I'm like, okay, this theater stuff's easy.
Yeah.
Right? So
Did you have to sing?
oh yeah. This is where it went all off the rails. So they said, you're going to sing and dance, and I said, no. The character you just had me playing was this funny, goofy character. I can do that. I cannot sing, and I cannot dance, and I don't know which I'm worse at. I can't sing and I can't dance. They go, oh, everyone can sing. Sit out in the green room. So I'm sitting out on these couches and watching these tons of people going in and audition, and now it's like 2 hours into this process, and I'm like, God, I'm telling you guys, I can't sing. So they bring me in for this thing, and they send me over to the music director, and he's on a piano, and he goes, all right, everyone knows the words to Happy Birthday, just sing Happy Birthday. So I'm like, happy birthday to you. He can't sing. He put his... But anyways, the choreographer happened to be my friend's sister, and is now currently my wife. That's how I met her.
That's a cool way that
So
you met her.
you didn't do that part.
Well, I found out that they don't pay in theater like I thought they did. I was making $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a commercial. I thought, man, weeks and weeks of doing the theater. I'll be making $20,000, $30,000 a show.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Maybe Broadway.
a Broadway show, exactly. A local theater, and it's there's a few theaters, and that's where my wife works at some of the higher end theaters, and they pay, but most of them do not, or it's a stipend, $50 or whatever. And so my dreams of being this big theater guy, well, were crushed because I can't sing. And
but it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then you ended up creating this empire with Dave Pratt.
Well, we could. So about 30 years into our radio career, we said, this internet thing is going to be kind of big. And
it was really smart.
Yeah, it wasn't me, believe you me, it was Dave. I was working at a KTAR, which is a news station in town, and he calls me up and he goes, Rob, don't think regular radio. And I go, hold on. And I went and I quit, and I came back. I go, all right, I quit. I'm ready to go. And he goes, you don't even know what we're doing yet. I said, I don't care if we're starting a poop cleaning up business. I'll be hanging with you, buddy. And so he says, well, we think this internet, and so we started a podcasting company, and no one had heard of what is podcasting.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
asked me if we wanted to
Yeah.
put it on the podcast,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know what that is.
So
like,
that
what
was
is that?
that was about 13 years ago, and ever
Yeah.
since then we've had our own studio up there in Scottsdale, and yeah, it's doing really well. And then as time
It's called
went on,
Star
Worldwide Networks, right? And that's where this show is being broadcast
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so, but the people would come up to us, hey, you know, we love the podcast and we were really, you know, doing well with our show, but do you also do this? Oh yeah, well, we'll send you over to the people that do PR over here, or you know, the people that buy radio commercials will send you over here. And then we started realizing, hey, we're better at that than everyone, and so we started our own advertising agency. So the digital advertising agency, you can still go to starworldwidenetworks.com, and that's where it really took off. And so
Super cool.
so Dave realized that, again, we're an old married couple. He's the one
Yeah.
that's disciplined, smart, and a business guy. And then there's Goofy Rob. So he just has me in charge of the studios.
You're the funnier one.
Yeah.
You're
I
the
wouldn't say
funny-
that. No, he's pretty funny. But yeah, he has me in charge of the studios.
But you're funny
And I have
together.
no idea what I'm doing. So
But you've been doing an amazing job for what? Did you say 13 years? now?
yes, now 13 years, going on our
Wow.
14th year.
Wow.
Impressive.
So yeah.
So when you guys would do your shows together, whether it was the radio, you know, or I know you filmed some shows, what was the content primarily? If somebody hasn't listened,
Oh, okay, so in the early 80s, it was as rowdy and crazy rock attitude as you can get.
Cool.
And he, you know, as a matter of fact, Dave started out his career as the wild one, Dave Pratt. And then he realized that. So Dave's always been a businessman, so he realized that, you know, calling yourself wild one or the crazy guy or whatever, it wasn't turning into big money. And Dave wanted to turn his career into big money, so he became, I think Terry Goddard, the old mayor of Phoenix, called him the morning mayor, and so he changed
that's
himself
good.
to the morning mayor,
That's
Dave Pratt,
good.
and so
Yeah.
that's when he really took off. And then we, what was
I mean,
it?
did you
90?
guys create an outline when you guys would do your show, or was
Oh.
it just very like, you know, off the cuff and, you know, you just
I'm always
magic
off the
happened?
cuff. Dave is more. He's the one that planned the show, understood the show. I mean, it was technically his show, so I was just the goofy guy that, you know, said stuff.
Made everybody
got
laugh.
I got us
Yeah.
in trouble a lot.
Because within the green room, when we first started out, we would do an outline, and then one of my co-hosts insisted, because she came from Channel 15, and she insisted that we have a almost like all the questions already arranged.
Yeah, there's
and
different people that do
orchestrated.
different styles.
But I felt like I was reading, and I really like
I
it.
like it better, like when you just going.
It's
off
natural.
Yeah, natural.
I like it better natural.
The one thing, see, you can tell I've been on the air for many years. One of the things that the outline does do is helps you get out. I mean, the most important thing in radio is to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So before I opened my mouth, I always knew the last thing I was going to say into a
Oh, really?
commercial. So I would start babbling, you know,
Oh,
whatever my
okay.
story, but I'd always have an out. So a lot of people are disciplined that way and have, you know, an outline or at least some direction of where you're going to go. I used to do it in my head and then I'd get lost. But I always had my out. Like, I know we're just babbling about something right now that no one cares about. Here's my funny line, and we were out.
Before
Well,
the commercial.
Well, we have different
for
guests,
commercial.
and sometimes guests want to have a complete outline, and I meet them ahead of time, and we, you know, do a complete outline, and that's good.
Yeah, absolutely, because, you know, unless you're, you know, spelling out every one of the words and they're reading, hi, my name is Rob, and, you know, that wouldn't be good. But, you know, you can prepare people by saying, here, we're going to talk about A, B, C, and
Yes.
D.
Yeah.
And they go, you know what, I don't want to talk about D. That was, you know, a bad part of my life.
That's
And,
fine.
you know, respect them and say, okay, we won't talk about D because, you know, that's, you know, something. And then you'll get more and more, you'll get your reputation of, you know, I'm a great interviewer because they talked about something I was interested in. So having an outline certainly
good.
helps your, so how come I didn't get an outline? You just said, come on down here and, what else are we going to talk about?
You're the goofy man. You're the goofy man.
Well, we're always learning. you know, we're learning as we go.
Mm-hmm.
But we did do almost like scripted, that not an outline. A long time ago we had a script.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
so yeah, it was definitely script.
it was very scripted, and I don't really care for the script, but I do like the outline.
Yes.
I do like the outline, just kind of like a generic outline of like what topics you want to cover.
I have seen that from previous podcasts when we like tell people what we're going to talk about, and then they like say something that's not really, they don't really want to say. It helps to make them more comfortable and all that type of stuff, so they're not like dreading that they have to talk about that one subject if we bring it up. So,
Yeah.
It does help in that aspect.
Right.
And it prepares
Right.
people so they know what you're talking about. Okay, like how you prepared me. Come on down, we'll just talk.
The ultimate preparation.
So we just want you to be funny. And,
Yeah.
and you've been performing.
Poke me. Come on, monkey. Be funny. Be funny. Perform.
What was your favorite episode of in your past?
Of radio or
Radio
acting or-
shows, acting, commercial. What have been your favorites?
Like most memorable one that you.
Getting kicked off the radio was always memorable.
You got kicked off the radio?
Oh, many times.
For what?
You know, the stuff we did back then was a different time, and we did a bit called Learning to Spell with Darnell. We would do
What was that?
That's a cancelable thing now.
Okay.
You get canceled for that.
Yeah.
But we would, whatever we would do, Dave would go, oh no, make it dirtier. So we would always press it right up to the edge.
Was this on AM radio?
This was in the morning on FM radio, but
FM, okay.
but AM it was in the mornings, and he would push it right to the point, you know. And I knew the owner was upstairs laughing because this was back when we had a local owner. He was laughing, but then they had to punish us because of the clients or the advertisers would expect if we went that far. So Dave would, the owner would come down and goes, David, damn it, gotta send you to Hawaii again. So they would fly him out to this private little place in Hawaii, quote unquote, punishing him for what he said on the radio. And then the clients were like, okay, you punished him, it's okay, we'll continue being your advertisers. But you knew the owner was up there just dying and laughing. He's just laughing at what we do.
Great.
What was the owner, Gary Edens?
No, it was Bob Melton and Jack Norris were the owners back then. This is the 80s, back when we were when we were doing the crazy stuff. I mean,
because Gary Edens has been on the show like 3 times, and I know he owned like, I don't know.
He owned KOY. Was it Gary Edens owned KFYI and KOY in that era?
I know
I don't remember.
He owned like 10 radio stations.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've met Gary. I've never
I
had a
hike
big
with
conversation.
him.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Yeah.
And he's been on the show like 3 times, and there's a hiking group that I'm friends with, and actually we're both going to a funeral.
Yeah.
Is it the
Nothing brings people
30th?
closer together than a
think so.
funeral.
Yeah. So Gary Driggs, who was on the show many times, dear friend of mine. That's how I met Gary Edens. But anyhow, so back to you and being funny. And how do you learn to be funny? Because Owen says he wants to be funny.
Well, that was the
How does
thing.
Owen
I
get
feel like
funnier?
I don't know. I'm just naturally funny. I guess.
I think you
I
are.
don't.
what
I
it
don't
is.
try to be. I just
Yeah.
I just am who I am, and some people find it funny. So
He is funny.
My parents wanted to know what I was going to do with my life. Because she said that I came out of the womb cracking jokes and goofing around, never being serious. And when I approached him after seeing that commercial during the cartoon and that afternoon, I said, Mom, Dad, I want to be a radio disc jockey. And they're like, oh my God, that's it. This is something this kid can do. They like, there's no way he could be a lawyer. He'd get up there and just goof around and the courtroom would throw him out. So yeah, my whole life I just kind of, I was the kid, that, when the relatives were all gathered around for Christmas and they'd all be sitting, I had to entertain everybody. I'd be the one who was always goofing around, telling the jokes. They were the dumbest jokes in the world, but
make people laugh.
I tried my best. So I pretty much came out performing.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So you
Born
just,
to do it.
it's just a natural gift that you have.
Yeah.
And
I suppose.
so you just had a routine that was, I think, on the 21st. Some comedy routine.
How did that
go?
Okay, so we're this year I lost my mother.
I'm sorry
It
about
was,
that. I wasn't gonna bring that up unless you did.
Yeah, well, she was
We're all
she's
very
the one
sorry
who
about
pretty
that.
much gave my personality. And during the process, it was a long process with Mom.
So she was hilarious.
She was. That's where I got my sense of humor from her and her father. And so for me to cope with this, I've always been involved in a group called the Early Bird Sketch Comedy, Early Bird Special Sketch Comedy group. And there's two of us. Backtrack real quick. That audition I did for that character that the director knew turns out to be this guy that's going to end up being my partner in comedy for many, many years later.
Wow.
He got that job as the one that they said that she was going to do. So and I still hadn't met him then. Now, many years later, all of a sudden I'm filming a commercial for a college at a wildflower bread company. And I'm filming with this girl and we do our, one commercial. And then the next group of people are coming in and this guy comes up to me, he goes, "Hi, I'm John." I go, "I'm Rob." And he says, "Hey, I'm starting a sketch comedy improv group." And I said, "I'm in. There's one thing I can do."
No questions asked.
Yeah. I met this guy. Turns out this is the guy that had taken my job a couple years earlier when I met my wife. So we've been doing the sketch comedy group for 20 years. Well, now these 20 years later, we've gone through many iterations of this group and people drop off and come on. There's about 8 or 10 and different people, and getting people together to do a show where it's not your full-time job. Everyone has to work. We're not making tons of money.
Yeah.
We're doing this for fun and just goof
Just
around.
locally
Enjoyment.
in
Yes.
Phoenix?
Yeah, in Phoenix.
Okay.
Just a local thing in Phoenix. So we decided, and I'm going through the death of my mother, and 2 weeks before that, his father died.
Oh.
And so we wrote this show called "Are You Tired of Being Offended?" And it is what has happened collectively to everyone in the world for the last 3 years.
Yes.
From the pronouns to the men swimming on the team so we decided that it's just going to be the two of us doing like a 2-man show, and we brought another actress in, and it's 2 guys in an office, and the actress that plays the HR lady, and we take off from there. I mean, it starts off with him talking to me, and I'm on a Zoom call, and all the crap that goes wrong on a Zoom call. I froze. I got I got different a cat face on it. It just goes through this entire thing. I joined the women's swim team, and during our show, I'll come running out with like 12 medals across me in a women's bathing suit, and I'll say, I completely dominated the meet, and run off stage. Well, then a video.
You wear a women's swimsuit?
Oh, this is interesting. But behind us, we have this big screen, and so the video shows me jumping in the pool and dunking the girl every time she come around, and then swimming off and then come in. So I win the race handily just by beating on the girl, or it's all in comedy.
Yeah.
And so the women's swimsuit issue comes up, and he goes, "Well, you're gonna have to go out and buy a women's swimsuit." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna go to a women's swimsuit store and start trying on swimsuits." So I went online. And
wanted to go to Victoria's Secret.
I got the biggest swimsuit you could find, okay? And it fit perfectly except for the top. So this is, it fit around me except for the top. So every time I got in the pool, it would just flop down. So now there's this loose, so what we did on the film was we put a fuzzy bar across my chest, so every time I would stand up and there would be this fuzzy bar across it. So that's what we do. Or there was, one thing where we're talking in the show, I go, "This would be a great podcast topic." He goes, "Oh, you still have your podcast?" I said, "Yeah, what's wrong with my podcast?" I go, "I have an amazing ability to articulate my thoughts with the golden tongue." He goes, "Yes, you have a gift of gab," and we go through this whole process. Then on the screen comes our podcast, and it was filmed in our studio, and big intro, and it was just amazing production technology. And then the camera goes on to us, and I start out the podcast by like this. I go, and that's the entire podcast. But not only that, underneath me we had all the words that it was saying, like little fart sound, and it would just say what it was. And at the very end, the credits started rolling, and right after the lights came back on, we start talking normal. But that's all during the credits, and every part of the credit was for a transcript of tonight's show. Please send $9.99. All the sound was mixed down by this studio in London. It was all about the sound on the audio, where the entire thing was just me. I couldn't talk through the whole. So this is some of the stuff that we had.
So you did this whole thing so you could wear a girl swimsuit.
I did this whole thing, yes. There's a part where I have a heart attack on stage.
Are you transitioning?
Yeah, that's it. There's a part where I have a heart attack on stage, and they go get a defibrillator, and they have to get a password for the defibrillator, and we can't come up with the password. So it was the entire thing of us coming up with the password. Another thing that we've all been dealing with. We have so many passwords, and how to get the new password, how to get the password sent to you. I mean, they gave us word problems. There are 2 trains leaving the station at 80 miles an hour, one from LA, trying to get the password. And the whole time I'm on the ground having a heart attack. And the HR lady comes out, "This is obvious COVID symptoms. Put on your mask." And he goes, "He's been boosted 47 times. How could this have anything to do with a heart attack?" And I'm laying on the ground and going, so yes, we kind of wrote that show as a whole cathartic thing. His dad passing away, my mom passing away. And we sold out the first show.
How can we see it?
Where's the show? Where do you perform?
It is over now. Seriously, we sold out the first show, and then we did one more show because people were complaining, "Oh, we want to bring our friends," and then we did one more show, and because I was done the first show, it was a cathartic thing, get it out of my system, and I was done after dealing with my mom. So on Saturday we did a second and last show, and that went well too, except for one thing did go wrong. At the end of this show, he said, "We're going to have a question and answer period." And I'm like, who wants to know? They've just been entertained. They just want to leave. They don't want to have questions. I said, just let people go. And so I come out on the stage after the show, and the entire audience stayed to ask us questions.
Wow.
And the one guy says, "How much of this is ad-libbed?" And they did not realize this. I go, "Well, the last 4 minutes were completely ad-libbed." And he goes, "Well, what happened?" Well, there's a point on the stage, and I don't know how dark I can get on this show.
Yeah, you can say it.
I hope, and if I offend you, it's because this show was written to offend you. Okay, but if you recall, the I Love Lucy show, and you can cut. We can edit this out if this doesn't make make the air.
No.
We can edit this whole thing. But the I Love Lucy show, if you recall, there's a one scene where Lucy was behind the door with a baseball bat, ready to hit the robber as the robber came through the door. But who comes through the door? Ricky, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the comedy is that the audience, from the view of the audience, is the audience was in on the joke. And you can get away with a lot more if the audience is in on the joke. Mm-hmm. So as we would do all our office stuff, behind us on the what we supposedly saw on our screens was behind us on this giant screen. And he goes to me, keep in mind we're 2 office guys, and he goes, "Hey man, can you watch the phones? I got to leave home early. I got to go pick up some faggots on the way home." And behind us on the screen it says, "Faggots, a bundle of sticks." Which is the definition of that, to keep you warm. But the whole conversation is me going, "What?" And your wife is okay with? "Oh, she encourages it." And I go, "Well, I've never done that before. I'd like to try it myself." He goes, "Yeah, come on by." And I go, "Wow, I never knew she was so open in your relationship." "Yeah, she loves them. It keeps them warm at night and snuggling." And I'm like, "Oh my God." I go, "Well, since it's my first time, can I start with a smaller one?" He goes, "Yes, you can start with a smaller one, but you have to insert a bigger one as it burns up." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness." I go, "Well, be careful, wear protection." He goes, "Yeah, I got gloves on." And he walks off stage.
That's peak comedy.
So at that point I walk over and of course the audience is in on all this, and I walk over and I read, "Oh, okay," and then I get the joke finally. Well, the reason the last 4 minutes of this last show was ad-libbed, after my heart attack scene, it turns out that I have a big gas issue because he had been messing with sandwiches. So I'm supposed to run up to his desk, grab a sandwich out of the thing and throw it in the garbage. Well, I grab the sandwich and I knock his coffee over for real. and it goes all over his nice Apple laptop, which
Oh,
is
no.
controlling the big, huge screen behind us. That goes blank.
So this is real.
This is
not-
real. This is a real mess up. So
yeah.
now we're doing the whole scene I just explained to you without the explanation, without her in the audience. And at this point, we're thinking we could really offend some people and lose the audience here on this one. And I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and now all the lines are coming. Thank God we practiced it a million times. All of them are on our hard drive and just coming automatic as we're trying to hurriedly get this.
It's out of your memory.
Yes. So it's just whatever was happening. I blanked out, and I'm completely just saying our lines, and we got out, and we never did get the screen back up, and we just did the lines. The audience laughed. Thank God we didn't lose a bunch of people thinking, God, how could they be making fun of somebody's sexual orientation right there on stage, you know? And so you ask if I like ad libs. Sometimes you have to, but for the most part, for a show like that we've written, that
But you
counts
wrote
on
it, so
cues.
you have it all written up.
We write it. Yeah, there's an hour and
How long
10
did that
minutes.
take you?
It took us about 6 months to write the show.
Wow. Took us
And
6
then,
months.
and of course, you know, the title of the show is "Are You Tired of Being Offended?" And
Great
when we were writing it, boy, were we offensive. And there's a lot of stuff that we definitely, you know, on both sides of whatever aisle you're on, we were getting dirty and offensive.
I want to see that original script.
Yeah, the original
Yeah.
script where we kind of honed it all down to the hour monologue. It essentially was, and it was a one act that lasted about an hour and 10 minutes.
So where can we go to see the video?
The end of every show, we do a puppet show.
Ooh.
And the puppet show.
I love puppet shows.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting puppet show.
Uh,
So 4 guys come out, and we're obviously naked from the top. We have a big blanket covering us. The song starts, and out through where we're standing mid-person, 4 puppets pop out and start dancing to this thing. And mine would always go limp. So
What's his name?
yeah, so that you can see. That is on right now on YouTube. You could go to EBS for Early Bird Special, EBS Puppets, and that particular one was filmed at a comedy club many years ago. But we do all our shows. We always end it with the
That's funny.
the birds.
EBS puppets.
EBS Puppets.
Okay, and we can find like how long is that gig?
Oh, that's about a 2 minute. It's a 2 or 3. It's to The Lion Sleeps Tonight. We do the whole song.
Oh,
Oh, cool. Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah, EBS Puppets Show, I think. I could probably look it up right now.
That's cool.
So, yeah, that's
So this was all
EBS
part of
puppet
the improv comedy group that you put
yeah.
together?
Well,
Kind of
like my friend and I decided we just want to do it ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we did a 2-man show with another actress, you know, playing the HR lady, but it was mostly him and I doing this, and it was really more than anything, it was for us. But you know, we loved doing it, and the crowd obviously loved it. We
Well,
had
who was
the
doing the
second show.
puppet show then? I mean, who?
Yeah.
You had like 4, you said you had like 4 guys.
We did. So in our EBS show, we always hire these wrestlers that come in, and they will actually slam themselves through wooden tables. You know,
Yeah.
like we'll be doing a bit, and we'll go, time out, cut. Time for a wrestling show, and they'd come out right on stage and they'll just slam a guy through a table. I mean, these guys are insane.
That's so
And they do it for like $25-30 bucks.
That's
you
funny.
know. So on this one we have
That's
this
funny.
big
Physical
stud
labor.
guy, big stud wrestler on one side with this, you know, 2 guys are in shape, and then John and I, 2 fatties that are, you know, got the Farmer Brown tan, and we're on the other end, and that's where the comedy ensues.
That's so funny.
And so, yeah, if you look up EBS Puppets, you'll see that was done years ago with some other actors. But this particular one had this total stud wrestler guy, you know, just the perfect body. And then on the complete opposite, there's Fatty Rob on the end going, woo! And then my puppet never works quite right. So I have to have help from John, who's standing next to me, and comedy
How is
ensues.
this puppet operating? Is there somebody back there, you know, with a little...
Yeah, that's-
That you'll have to figure out yourself. Everyone go to EBS Puppets.
I'm excited about this.
And then when
EBS
we finally
puppets.
drop the cloth, we're all standing there, and everyone's got their puppet at attention, and mine of course is just hanging there in a lot of
Great
limpness.
euphemism, right?
That's so funny. Wait, so that's it for the improv? Like, you guys aren't doing any more shows, or?
Well,
He always says that. He said that
well,
last time.
it would
says
be
it's
back
all-
with the whole improv group, which would be eight actors, and trying to get us all together. We usually end up doing a couple shows a year, and
So where
It's
are you
just not-
performing these shows typically?
well, this particular one, this is an interesting place. It's called it was called the Power Square Mall. It's at Power Road and
Oh.
Baseline. It's an actual old mall, and in this school called Lumos Academy, where they do teach the arts.
Oh.
All these artists and stuff come there. They have this black box theater,
Oh,
and so we do it right there in an old
Yeah.
abandoned mall.
Cool.
There's a complete theater, and that was we've done it at the NCT National Comedy Theater or Neighborhood Comedy Theater in Mesa. They're great. They do improv. That's all they do is improv, and so we'll rent their studio or their theater, and we'll do it there. And then we did it at another theater for many years, but this is, I think, going to become our home, the one out at Power.
Your favorite one.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, so when's the next routine that we can all come see?
Probably not until,
Oh,
well,
come
you
on.
know, we have the Pratt Brothers Christmas coming up.
Oh, we tell everybody about
Yes.
that. This is amazing.
So
Pratt
seven,
Brothers.
Yes.
my buddy that I've been working 40 years in radio, his
Dave
two
Pratt.
boys
Yeah.
won the national Christmas light fight on ABC television, and they had been
Yeah.
decorating their house for years, and
Yeah.
now they're young men in their 20s that have taken it to a bigger level and are doing it professionally. So last year we did it out at Bellbank Park, and this year we are at Rawhide. So we've taken over the entire town of Rawhide and south of Chandler there, and it's 7 million lights. There's a
Wow.
parade every night. There's train rides for everyone to go on. I drive a Model A car around the park and give people rides. So that's my acting for the next 3 or 4 months
Oh.
as I get
So
ready
that
for that.
does that start like after Thanksgiving or what?
Yeah, right after Thanksgiving, and
And goes through what, the
runs
end of
through
January?
Christmas through the end of December.
Wait,
So-
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's
'Cause
pretty big.
Doesn't
deal.
it also go on the radio or something? Or is that a different thing? Because I heard on the radio about lights, and we drove to it, and then it was like in correlation or something.
Well, yeah, what they're really good at is everything dances, fire and snow effects and everything. It's a massive
That's super
undertaking.
cool,
From doing a house to doing an entire town.
yeah.
Amazing.
It's unbelievable what they're doing, and so they're
Do they
working on-
physically do it themselves?
They and a crew, yeah.
Just have a big crew, yeah.
They call it one software, one hardware. So the one guy programs all the lights. That's Kyle, and he programs the lights. He does all the creative stuff that way. Sammy, his brother, does all the building. So they build the rides, and,
Okay.
and there's a parade there every
So
day,
cool.
and people love it. So I got to show you here in the studio. They won't
gotta
hear it
go.
on the show, but I'll show you a picture of me when I'm driving this car around, and you'll see what I
So
do.
it's in Mesa.
It's in Chandler.
Okay, it's in Chandler. And how did they get this light show onto the APC?
Oh, the ABC show they won the ABC contest. That was at their house, and so that was
Okay.
the catalyst that says
Well,
we
they
want to
still
do this.
When was
Like,
that?
them
When
to
did
want
these
to do
ABC?
that.
I never saw that.
That
Yeah.
it happens every year.
National show?
It's a national television show. They
Oh,
won
okay.
the entire thing last year.
Wow.
So
For the
just
Christmas
last
lights.
year, wow.
for the Christmas
Holy shit.
lights,
That's
And
impressive.
that's not for it's for the not for the little town, but for the
that's for their
The
own
house.
personal house. They won it. It's a big contest,
That's
a reality show kind of contest. And they won the entire thing across the country. People, put lights and everything in their
Mhm.
houses. So
Wow.
this was something that
so
was the
lights.
catalyst to put them into that's what they're going to do for a career.
That's super cool.
wait, that's what the boys are doing for their career?
That's
Yeah,
their
why
career.
not? They could
This
get
will
hired.
be every
They
year.
could get hired. They could travel around the country doing things like this. you know?
Wow,
Yeah,
that's
and then-
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sounds
So
like a pretty cool thing.
if you're into Christmas and Christmas lights,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like $29, and everything in there is free except for I think pictures with Santa. It's a whole different business there. But everything's included, train rides and you know, except for food and drink, and you know, you can buy all that stuff while you're there. But yeah, it's absolutely amazing. What these
And is it crowded? Do a lot of people go out and see it?
Oh yeah, it's crowded. You can come out on Friday, Saturday night. It's packed.
Oh, that's so
Oh,
nice.
it's yeah. These guys grew up at Disneyland.
Oh.
This was the family that came up and started messing with me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, so they've
Full
been
circle.
And a
There
matter
we
of fact,
go.
I think Disneyland wanted to hire them out of college, but they decided to do their own thing. So this is kind of
Super cool.
their deal. And so it's really from the end of November through December, through the month of December. If you're in the Phoenix area, this is something you definitely want to see.
All right, we'll all go as a group. We'll all go as a
sure.
group. That
Yeah.
sounds super fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
So what's on your bucket list? What is going to happen next? We have 10 minutes left. Dominic, do you have any questions?
Not at the moment.
My bucket list, I think I've hit most of the stuff on my
Yes,
bucket
that's
list. I
one
mean,
thing.
What's going to be in the future?
I like acting and doing the comedy stuff. I've done some movies. Like I have 2 movies that are out on Amazon right now.
Really?
Oh, really?
They're 2 Western movies.
Oh, okay.
One's called Bite the Dust, and the other one is called
What's that one about?
Road to Revenge. The Bite the Dust, that's 2 bounty hunters that saved some children in the Old West. I am playing a drunk character, which I'm known for. This is called Glenn Fiddick, like the booze.
Yeah.
And so when I did perform at Rawhide, I always played this drunk cowboy. So they hired me for this movie. And then the other one is called
Isn't it Glenn
The
Levitt?
Road to Revenge. There's Glenn Levitt and there's Glenn Fiddick.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
the other one, I play a marshal that you could pretty much murder somebody at his doorstep and he has given up. He just does not care. So between the big gunfights, I'm kind of the comic relief on this movie.
I like
It's
that.
called
This
Road to Revenge. It's on Amazon if you want
really?
to.
Road to
Are
Revenge.
these local productions?
They are. These were both filmed at Rawhide.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
So, but they've gone on international. It's funny when you get some guy
Who's
in
the
Germany. A guy who used to work at our studio's name is Ed Vanderlee, and George.
Oh, Ed?
Ed and George. Are
Oh, Ed's
producers.
amazing.
Yes, so you know Ed.
Yeah, Ed's great.
Yeah, so Ed, they had put together this. They got the funding, and of course they had to hire their buddy Rob to come out there and play his dumb little characters.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's so
I always
cool.
have fun. So I used to think that that's what I wanted to do for a living, do the movies, but it's a lot of standing around waiting for the lights and the cameras and all that. So
Different.
it's not.
But that's fun. So,
Yeah.
so does Ed feel like he's going to do a lot more movies? Because I'm sure he'll.
Well, it all depends on getting the financing. I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes down to it,
Mhm.
it's getting financing. And even in Hollywood, I mean, you remember in the 80s,
Uh-huh.
90s, and the 2000s even, there was all these rom-coms, these romantic comedies. Well, those don't make money for Hollywood anymore. Everything you see that comes out of there is a blockbuster. It's the Marvel movies. It's all that.
Mhm,
And
that's
it's all
true.
The genres
CGI. It's
changed a
not
lot
the
now.
stories that they used to be able to make. So the Sleepless in Seattle's and those kind of movies are done on a local level, and to do it big time, you need hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean,
Very true.
what did they say? Indiana Jones, the latest one, they said it lost money and it's made like 350 million, but had to make $1 billion just to break even. That's how big the movie industry is now.
Yeah.
What about the TV industry, though? They still do sitcoms are still popular, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, but now, where do you when was the last time you actually turned on your television?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
There's
watching.
There's so
it.
many like streaming
There's
services.
so many
Right.
streaming services. It's not like it used to be.
No.
And that's the same way why we got out of radio.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the radio
Yeah.
days,
That's
that
why
was
it's
it.
all podcasts.
Apple
And when
Music,
I was on the radio, we had a live sporting event or a concert,
Mhm.
television, radio.
Yep.
That was it. If you wanted to play a video game, you went down to an arcade and put in a quarter. So back then you had maybe 40 radio stations and 10 television stations.
Mhm.
So it was a lot easier to gain a massive audience. Whereas today, they can't do that. And they have to buy these big clunky transmitters. So that's why we decided this podcasting thing that no one had heard of was going to be a big
Gonna
deal.
blow up. Yeah.
Who's the most watched? Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Yeah.
11 million
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
people are listening to his podcast. That's where it's at now.
Yeah.
The broadcast industry is dying. a slow,
Sure.
painful.
Did you ever think of like going to Hollywood to get into TV, sitcoms, or anything like that?
Yeah.
Because you obviously would
Yeah,
be natural for a sitcom. I could see you.
I never, I'm a nester, I guess.
okay.
I just stayed here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I came out here in 1980 and I've been here ever
Stick to
since.
the roots.
Yeah, I don't know why. I just,
You-
I think I could have tried it, but there's a
I
million
know.
talented
Yeah,
people
Yeah.
that
it's
are
a lot.
waiting a lot of tables. There's a lot of restaurants in there because they got workers.
Yep.
Here you can't
Workers.
get a restaurant.
We can't.
Like you see help wanted here, but in
True.
LA everyone's got
Very true.
enough waiters.
Very true, and they're all.
Yeah, but
They're
they're
all
all
trying to get that business.
they're all very talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all in who you know.
It's who you know.
It's
It's
who you know.
exactly who it is because.
Do I tell you that all the time, Owen?
Yeah.
And the
It's-
neat
it's
thing
true
about
statement.
doing what I do is like,
Because not to be mean or anything, but I know a lot of really famous people and people that are, and Owen will meet them. And I'm like, Owen.
it's who you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
Yeah, it is.
It's a political business to be in that too.
Sure.
Yeah.
You gotta be,
Mhm.
you gotta know, you gotta kiss the right ass. The beauty thing about doing what I do, and I don't count on it for my money, is that I just every time I sign on to a project, I'm having a ball.
Yeah.
I am
There you
having
go.
Making fun
fun.
of it, yeah.
Otherwise, why do it? It's not where I make
That's
my
good.
money.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you do your passion,
Yeah,
whatever
Yeah,
your
doing
passion
what you
is,
love. Yeah, that's
do
what
what you
makes
love.
right,
that's what
and
makes life
for a
special.
living, I
Yeah.
do voiceover work. That's what I do for a living. That's where the work
Oh,
is. But it's
okay.
still fun. It's still fun for me to do voices and do commercials and whatever else that I can do. I cobble together a career that way. But when I'm goofing around, it's like if we couldn't write our own show and if we were censored on everything we did, it
Oh,
would
gosh.
be so watered down it would not even be funny anymore.
Yeah.
So
and not fun. It would be
it
fun.
was not fun. It wouldn't be fun, correct? Unless somebody paid me millions and millions of dollars, then yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'll lose a
Having
lot
a
of weight and
blast,
become
having
that
a
perfect
blast.
body to become Superman for a week, of course. But when you're just doing it for fun and just having
So
fun.
do you think all those writers deserve more money with the whole strike and all that?
I kind of understand where they're going. You got that whole
'Cause I do.
AI
I do.
thing.
Yeah.
AI is scary.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm luckily at the end of my career
Mhm.
where I'm close to retirement, but I would be worried because they can take my voice and just start typing into a computer and it will sound exactly like me.
It is scary.
Crazy.
And do
So-
what with it, though?
This
The
strike,
possibilities
you do
are
commercial.
honestly
Incidentally, the strike.
I
is
could do-
pretty
they could
much
do a
over.
commercial,
I don't know
sound
if you've
just
heard
like
that.
me.
It's pretty much over, the strike.
But
Is
they
it-
can't
Yeah.
do that if
Oh, if you go
If
on
you- if
YouTube
you-
right now, there's that famous, and I can't remember the voice guy's name that did almost everything. You'll hear him doing. You like, how did they hire this guy to do this? They didn't. It's AI.
Yeah, I know.
It's AI. And it's amazing
It's
how
scary how the possibilities
it's
are
and
endless
it's
with that.
getting
Yeah.
closer and
really-
closer. I mean, you can still kind of tell.
There's a
but
little bit of
there's a little bit
robot, yeah.
of robotics.
So
But
how do you
that's
make it
only going to
stop?
get better and
Yeah.
better. You
Yeah.
can't. It's out of the bag.
That's
so,
right.
so they can't make a
So
law to say
writers-
anymore?
It's
Writer,
Pandora's
that's what the
box is
writers
open.
writers if you go and say write me a 500-word essay on why headphones are comfortable, 2 seconds later you'll have a beautifully
Yeah.
written
Yeah,
essay. That's why I
That's
say
why I love-
if you're a young person right now, take care of your body, because the doctor that's going to school right now to take care of you when you're older is cheating his way through college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So take care of your body.
You better be in great shape, because
So you have
the
2
guy
minutes
who's learning
left.
to be a doctor is all doing it with AI.
So they don't really know what they're doing.
I'm kidding, of course.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
So-
No one's cheating.
So
No.
you have 2 minutes
Yeah.
left. We have 2 minutes left. Does anybody have a question for Rob?
Out of all the things you've done, like commercials, radio, what was your favorite? What really
Wow.
stood out to you
That's a good question.
and made you the happiest? I would say, like, what made you happiest?
This is gonna blow your mind. The dinner theater.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the character I played was the drunk cowboy.
Oh,
And
that's why
I
it originated?
I could get
Ah.
away
Okay.
with anything. There was one guy, this restaurant hired me, and we were doing the thing, and I would come out with their dessert, and I'd put it down in front of him, and I'd start touching it and play. I go, oh, sorry, I messed that up, and I'd be full. And before I'd laid a cloth on his back, and I'd start rubbing it off all the cake on his thing, and
To be
so it was just
continued.
fun.
Uh,
Saving the
just fun.
planet.
One
show